Guys, it's the time. It's that time. It's just that time of year again. As I fumbled through that like 3 times. It's just that time of season once again. It is March, and it is March Madness. We are here. I'm recording this on March 14th. Now, as you're going to find out, because my NFL video that I created and I'm trying to get out keeps getting delayed because the NFL teams keep making trades and keep having me delaying my bringing it out because I have to keep talking about the trades that they keep making before I can actually put out the video. It's rather frustrating. But today I'm going to bring to you my NCAA tournament picks. Now, I would have been doing this on ESPN's website, but it does not work minimize because I only have one modder. I can't put it on one modder and then just pick it from there. I have to squeeze everything into one screen because I don't have two connected. And minimizing it did not work. I couldn't even scroll to the right or to the left, and so I just cut off like half the bracket. I couldn't even pick it past there. So I took what almost took like 2-3 hours to finally put all of this in. So if some of you maybe were not paying attention on the selection show, which was yesterday, which almost took place like 24 hours ago, will be 24 hours ago come 6 o'clock. But if you weren't watching yesterday and you don't know who was picked into the tournament, I'm not going to say every single team. Okay, I don't know why. Because apparently I had it over there. I'm not going to say what teams made it and what teams are actually in because saying every single team is going to take way too long. So I'm just simply going to scroll through this every once in a while and then show you like the seeds, and you can read it for yourself while I'm basically just talking about how crazy this year's tournament will be, because it really is going to be absolutely insane. I also have like dates and where it is, so if you end up wanting to go to one of these games, you can go ahead. I only base this off of the website, so you know. Um, I did look, and UConn, Arkansas are playing in Buffalo, and of course that's where the second round will be too, and it does take place on March 17th. So I do have that in case you're wanting to go to any of these games. But this is going to be an absolutely crazy tournament because literally anyone can win and anyone can lose. I mean, last season we thought there was a lot of upsets and a lot of teams had ended up losing. We thought that was a crazy year. I'm just telling you right now, this year is going to be just as crazy. And I mean, and I do show like first four games. That's the first four game there. I'll show that as well. But this is going to be a crazy, crazy year with as many teams made in. I mean, everything about this season, about this tournament this year, is just going to be absolute madness. And of course, that's such a fitting name for the actual tournament itself, which is March Madness. But it's going to be just nuts. I think you could see teams from, like 1 through 5 who I think easily could end up winning the tournament. And of course, we see Baylor there. That's obviously one of the many, I'd say, competitors for winning it all this year. We always saw Gonzaga earlier. I mean, I've never been, I'm just going to go on a Gonzaga rant right now. I am not a huge fan. I've never been a huge fan of Gonzaga. I mean, this team, I tried picking them I don't remember what I did with them last year. I'd have to I'd have to rewatch the video. Actually, if you want to see, I'm gonna be putting probably a lot of links in the description down below for a lot of different stuff. But if you want to see like last year's tournament and however on earth that ended up going, because I don't remember it being any good. I remember last year I was terrible. I think I picked Michigan maybe to get to the like championship game, and I think they might have lost to no Did they get to the championship? I know I picked. Oh, I had them losing to Baylor. I think that's what I had. So I did have the champ. I know I picked Baylor. I'm pretty sure I picked Baylor as a national champion, who of course won. They are the defending champs this year, and they're a one seed once again. They're not the number one overall seed. Gonzaga was last year, and they they were the number two overall seed. I think was Baylor. But it should be a fun season. You see teams like you don't. I don't think Murray State has been a 7 seed in a very long time. This is San Francisco's first appearance in the tournament since 1998. So cool to see some teams that you probably don't normally see in the tournament. Um, and so it's just going to be a really, really good season of basketball. It's just going to be an incredible tournament. I'm expecting a lot of fun games. And there's one right there that we'll pick later, but Seton Hall TCU, that is going to be a very good game. We saw earlier Memphis and Boise State, and of course North Carolina Marquette. That's a really good game. Expect some fireworks in that one. That should be really fun. And from but judging on just the selection show this year, and like, if you're asking for like my opinion of who I thought should have made it, you haven't seen like the first four out teams, but there's one team that I don't think should be in, and I mean they're right here. They're right here. This team, I really don't know. I thought if maybe somehow if this team actually somehow, if Michigan somehow ended up getting in the tournament, which I thought wasn't even possible, I thought if they somehow ended up squeaking in, it'd be a first four game. But nope. Nope. We're not even in the first four. We're just an 11 seed playing Colorado State. So I don't get this move right here, especially since you'll see later that Oklahoma is not in the tournament, who's also basically the same record as Michigan, same pretty much resume at 18 and 15, and they didn't make it. So very confused by that one. But since I'm the Wolverine fan here, I really don't care. You're going to find out later in my NFL video that I did not want Michigan in the tournament because I was just so disgusted with their performance against Indiana. I've changed my tune a little bit because of our draw here in the tournament. So I've changed my tune slightly since that point. Just saying. But then you can see the other games here. What I'd really love to see in Ohio State, Michigan. I'd love to see in Ohio State, Michigan, Sweet 16. Also, I already created like a bracket group for the podcast. So, Calvin's, Jacob will be on there. If you guys remember Sam from last year and a couple years and all the videos that we've done with Sam and Calvin and Jacob, I will be doing a bracket challenge for just the podcast, just for fun. We were supposedly going to do money last year. Me, Jacob, and Sam were. That never ended up happening. We're not doing money this year. And so if you guys think I'll be putting it in the description down below. You can go ahead and join the group, put in your own bracket, and see if you can beat us. So there's some friendly challenge there, but you can see that as well. Kansas and the first four game. We'll do the first four games first. Typically, you're not gonna really see. I don't think you're not gonna see. I'm just gonna pick the first four games. Not many people probably would, but I'm gonna pick the first four games, and then I'm going to pick the whole tournament itself. I'm gonna do the first four. Yes, I'm gonna do the 16 seed games too. I have no idea. I'm just gonna completely guess when it comes to that. San Diego State Creighton's really good. Iowa and Richmond. Richmond, only reason they got in, and I guess even really Virginia Tech, since they're the 11th seed on the other side of the bracket, really the only reason those two ended up making it was because they won their conference tournaments. Technically, those two are the bid stealers. Richmond certainly is, but honestly, with Virginia Tech being an 11, I mean, them ended up Virginia Tech ending up as an 11 seed tells me that they would not have been in without their conference tournament championship, even though they beat North Carolina and all that. So Virginia Tech ended up making on the other side. Richmond here, Providence and South Dakota State. Providence had a really good season. Really impressive for them winning the Big East championship. Now you see these games. Of course, Wisconsin ends up in Wisconsin in their own state in Milwaukee. How nice, right? But right here, LSU is without Will Wade, their head coach. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about NCAA sanctions around the LSU program and also football. And the big one here was Will Wade. He got NCAA sanctions, and LSU didn't really want to deal with all the fallout of it, and they just ended up firing him. And so LSU, without their head coach, is going to have an interim guy. I forget what the name of the guy was. I'd have to look again. But LSU, no head coach, will be playing their first game in the tournament. Their first game in the tournament will be their first time without their head coach. That's what I'm trying to say, and finally got to it. Iowa State, I think, is a little underseeded, but oh well, it is what it is. Then you got these are the last 4 games. I did not go through those yet. This is going to be an awesome season. Kind of cool to have USC and Miami, Florida playing each other, the 2 football schools in the NCAA tournament. It's a 7-10 game. Should be fun. I'll tell you who I pick later. And then we go over here to the first 4. And this is going to be on the first day, on Tuesday. As you can see there, we have Texas Southern and then Texas A&M Corpus Christi. I have never heard of that school. I have heard of Texas Southern. I have never heard of Texas A&M Corpus Christi. I never have. I didn't even know this school existed, which is pretty sad, but, oh well. Then there's the other game, Wyoming, Indiana. Indiana, one of the last 4 in, along with Wyoming. They just made the cut. Of course, I'll also go below. I have the teams that just missed and also are considered like replacement teams if someone has to pull out because of COVID. That's really probably not going to happen this year, though. There's only hope for making the tournament for those teams, though. Then you got on Wednesday night will be the other half of the first 4. You have Wright State and Bryant. Yeah, I don't know anything about either team still. And then the other one, Rutgers Notre Dame. That's going to be a really good game. That is a night game. Both the Indiana Wyoming game and Rutgers Notre Dame will be the night games on Tuesday and Wednesday of the first 4. So those will be big time to watch. And then right below here, you'll see who I have as who ended up being first 4 out and last 4 in. So Indiana was the first of the last 4 in. Dayton was the very first team to miss the tournament. I don't know why they're in the first 4 out. I don't know why Dayton is here, but they are. And that's what they ended up being. So I have no idea why, but that's where they are. Oklahoma was the second team out. Was the second team who just missed the tournament among the first 4 out. Notre Dame was was number 2 of the last 4 in. SMU was the 3rd team out of the tournament. Rutgers was the second to last team in. Rutgers really, really weird resume for the Scarlet Knights. Really. Nobody knew what to do with that resume, but they got in anyway. And then Texas A&M, who had a miraculous run in the SEC tournament, nearly got to the SEC championship game to play Tennessee. If only they had won that game, right? But they did not beat Tennessee. They ended up losing, which places them as the 4th team in the first 4 out, and then Wyoming was considered the last team in the tournament. So that is the first 4 out, last 4 in, first 4, all that. We almost took 15 minutes to do that. This is gonna be a long video, but here we are. Let's start it. So. Going to game number 1, we have the Gonzaga Zags playing Georgia State. Yeah, if you really think I'm going to be taking Georgia State in this one, I think you're crazy. This is a good 16 seed still, but this is Gonzaga. Gonzaga is going to win this one, and I'll change the record every time, but Gonzaga is going to be winning this. I'm going to just go down on this side, and then I'm going to go on the other side. I'm going to go round by round. I don't want to just fill out an entire region and then do another region. I'm just going to do round by round by round, just keep going. And I'll just go straight down on both sides. So Gonzaga beats Georgia State. Boise State and Memphis. Boise State, they ended up winning the regular season title in the Mountain West. Memphis had an incredible end to their season. They had a rough start. High expectations for this team with the number 2 recruiting class with Amani Bates and Jalen Duran. Amani Bates, I'm pretty sure, is still out for Memphis, but Jalen Duran has taken off for the Tigers. Boise State, don't know much about them, but they had an ugly start to the season, finished it off very well. As I said, regular season title in the Mountain West. I think this is a game that the Memphis Tigers, finally being back in the tournament, will end up winning. It'll be fun for sure. I think this is going to be a solid game. As I said, I don't know much about Boise State, but Memphis, I think they come out of this one victorious. Should be an interesting game, though. Definitely one to be on the lookout for. UConn and New Mexico State. This is a hard one as well, because really, this is a hard one as well, because this is a year I feel like there's going to be a million upsets. And really, this is one where I would say you could pick both of these two to win. You could pick New Mexico State and Vermont and totally be right, which is the crazy part. So yeah, I've already taken the one upset earlier. That's not really a big upset though, because it is an 8-9 game. This is a hard one to pick. I'm gonna go with UConn. This is a team that is very good inside. They're very physical. They're a good defensive team. I don't know anything about New Mexico State, but I've seen UConn's team play, and they're not exactly a great shooting team, but they are very good around the basket. They get to the basket very well. And, I really think that's going to be a winning formula for UConn. I think they get past New Mexico State, avoid the upset. They get to the second round. Arkansas, Vermont. Vermont supposedly, according to what I've heard from people, plays the same style as Colgate, who gave Arkansas problems in the first round last year when Arkansas was a 3. Arkansas still survived. It's not going to change in this one. I have Arkansas moving on. They take on UConn in the second round. So, now we move on to the bottom half of this region, which has... I actually forgot to do the first 4. Okay, sorry guys. So let's go do the first 4. I just realized I didn't do that. Well, let's do it like this. Actually, when we come across a first 4 game, we'll pick that game and then move on. So that game was Rutgers and Notre Dame. That'll be taking place on Wednesday night. This is going to be a really good one. Notre Dame, Blake Wesley basically is their good. Blake Wesley plays well for Notre Dame. Rutgers is a very good defensive team. I think this is going to be a war. This is going to be a really fun game to watch. I've watched Rutgers play a lot. I've watched a little bit of Notre Dame. They're a solid overall team. Rutgers, though, this team is very good defensively. And if they get a shooting presence, if they're able to shoot the basketball, I'm sorry, but you're going to have a tough time beating this Rutgers team. They are too hard. They are hard to beat when they're hitting the ball and Geo Baker and Ron Harper Jr. are making shots. I think they do that, though, against Notre Dame, and I think they get the win. And they move out of the first 4, and they head into the first round to take on Alabama, which is a very Alabama, which is a very streaky team. They have games where they look incredible and games where they just look terrible. They have no consistency. That is for dang sure. But Alabama is more of an offensive team. This team counts on its offense. Like I said, very streaky. Uh, Also, based on that 1913 record, they've beaten teams like Baylor. They've beaten teams like did they beat Kentucky? No, they didn't beat Kentucky. Um, I think they beat Tennessee once. But Alabama has so many so many great wins. They beat Gonzaga. They did beat Gonzaga. Bama has beaten two number one seeds. They beat Gonzaga. They beat Gonzaga and Baylor. That's two number one seeds that they beat, and they're 19-13. It just doesn't make sense, right? But Alabama, the sixth seed here, 19-13. Really, really weird resume for Alabama and for Rutgers. These are probably the two most streaky teams in the country, because Rutgers can play really well and really poorly at different points, as judged by their Lafayette and almost losses like Merrimack. They lost to UMass. Really, really bad losses for Rutgers. Bama's lost to Davidson, and they lost to somebody else too. It was Davidson. Oh, I think they lost to Memphis as well. So neither of these teams make any sense. Bama's coming off a loss, I believe, to Texas A&M in the tournament. Yeah, I think they lost to A&M, who, of course, had that nice run. Bama's just too streaky of a team. You know, they're not consistent enough. They don't. I'm sorry. They're really not consistent enough. So I'm gonna put Rutgers as the upset. That's gonna be my first big up. Oh wow, I don't know why I went up there. I'm gonna have Rutgers as my first big upset of the tournament. Like I said, Bama just too inconsistent. If they're able to shoot the basketball, if they're making shots, then they'll move on. But Rutgers is a good defensive team. It's a bad matchup for the Crimson Tide. I have Rutgers going to the second round. Texas Tech and Montana State. This should not take very long for many people. Give me the Red Raiders. Texas Tech, they're a very good defensive team, which really creates an interesting second round game there between Rutgers and Texas Tech. Honestly, should be a lot of fun. Rutgers is it should be really fun though. Texas Tech is very good defensively, but the thing about Texas Tech is they can actually shoot the basketball. They have shooting capability. They can knock down shots, which is huge for them, because that's really how Texas Tech lives. They're very good defensively. They picked that up when Chris Beard came along. Mark Adams has kept it that way, and Tech has been able to hit shots with Terrence Shannon and Mark Williams, I believe it is, down low. They have been so good though. They have been so good, Texas Tech, though, all season long. They play Montana State. This is an easy win for them. I have them moving on to the second round. Michigan State, the 7th seed, taking on Davidson. Michigan State, this is not the greatest Michigan State team. And they did have a win over Wisconsin in the Big Ten tournament. They ended up then losing to Purdue. Michigan State, the only way this team ends up winning games is if they make shots, and that doesn't really always happen. Michigan State has to be able to hit three-pointers, and they're not a three-point shooting team. So Michigan State, though, this team, the specialty of every Sparty team, and I mean every Spartan team, they are physical. They are very scrappy. That is how Tom Izzo coaches his teams, and he does a great job at it. They are scrappy, they are physical, they don't give up on anything. And so I think that is going to be a huge reason why Michigan State is going to win this game, because Davidson is not going to match Michigan State's physicality. No way. Foster Lawyer being on Davidson will make things interesting, since, of course, Foster Lawyer is a former Spartan. But, I mean, he'll play well for sure, probably, but I don't see how he ends up really making any difference for Davidson in this game. I think Michigan State moves on to the second round of where they'll play Duke. I'm not even going to talk about this one. This is Coach K's last year. They're against good old UC Fullerton. This is Coach K's last season. Paolo Banchero's a great player. It's not Mark Williams for Texas Tech now. I'm thinking Mark Williams for Duke. But Mark Williams, he's good for Duke down low. They have a great team. Duke can play. This is a very good Blue Devils squad. I think Duke moves on to the second round. And also, this being Coach K's last year, you bet Duke is going to come out playing their best every single time. Baylor, Norfolk State. This is another one game. This is another 116. I'm not picking one seeds to lose this year. I don't even know how Virginia lost that 1 year. But Baylor's going to win this one. Defending champions, Baylor Bears. They have a couple injuries, but they're not losing Norfolk State. Okay? Let's just get that out of the way right now. North Carolina and Marquette. This is going to be one of the better games, I think, of the tournament. These two are both very good. Marquette's a very good offensive team. North Carolina is only an offensive team. I think this could be a very interesting game because Marquette is well coached by Shaka Smart. North Carolina in their first year with Hubert Davis. This is going to be a really fun game. I think it'll be a very interesting one of one I believe Sam might actually be going to watch. But I'm taking North Carolina. This is going to be a very good game, though. Should be very interesting. Keep your eye on this one. Very good game. Going to be a lot of fun to watch. St. Mary's, and then first four game, Wyoming, Indiana. Let's go and pick that game. Indiana and Wyoming. There it is, right there. Oops. Oh my gosh. Okay, there we go. Wyoming and Indiana. Indiana's got a really good team, all right? Tracy Jackson Davis is very good. Race Thompson can play. Miller Kopp's not too bad. He can make some shots. Wyoming, I don't know anything about them. They're from the Mountain West. They had a great start to their season, and then it just completely fell off a cliff by the end. So, yeah, it was not a great start for it was a good start for Wyoming, and it was not a great finish for them. I think they lost like 5 of their last 7 or 4 of their last 7 or something like that. It was not the greatest end to the season for the Wyoming Cowboys. It should be interesting, but Wyoming doesn't really have someone there's not a lot of people that can match up with Tracy Jackson Davis, which is why I take the Hoosiers to win this one and move on to play St. Mary's in the first round over in Portland, Oregon. And in this game, once again, St. Mary's doesn't have anyone that can match Tracy Jackson Davis. So I'm once again taking Indiana. I like this Hoosier team. This team is very good. They are very Tracy Jackson Davis oriented. But this team can make shots. And Xavier Johnson, their point guard transfer from Pitt, has really been playing well lately. They fell victim to the Iowa train, which has just been on fire. But this is a good Hoosier team. And St. Mary's, every single year, the West Coast teams of Gonzaga and St. Mary's always get overrated. I'm not a big St. Mary's fan. Their good win is Gonzaga. They beat Gonzaga. That's it. And I mean, yes, I said that Alabama beat Gonzaga, and that's a really good win. It is because Gonzaga's only got like 3 losses all year because they play in the WCC that has nobody in its conference. And really, this year was probably the best year for the WCC. And guess what? Only 3 teams came out of the conference. Only 3 teams came out, and they're 1-5-10. We'll get to the last one later, but this is not a great conference. Okay, everyone says it's a great conference. No, it's not. There's nobody good in that conference. St. Mary's and Gonzaga always have the best teams, so they naturally always end up having the best records. Duh. Anyways, I'm done with my rant on the WCC. if Gonzaga ended up moving to the Pac-12, it'd be more interesting because they actually have competition finally. Anyway, UCLA and Akron. Yeah, this one doesn't take a lot of thought. UCLA is was a Cinderella story last season. Don't know if there'll be a Cinderella story this year, but UCLA, the Cinderella story last season. I think they have a great. I think they do more of the same this year. Still coached by Mick Cronin. Still have pretty much the same team from last season. Just add in Miles Johnson from Rutgers as a transfer and a great recruit as well. I mean, this is a good UCLA team. Watch out for the Bruins. They're going to make some noise in the tournament. Texas and West Virginia. Texas and Virginia Tech. I'm sorry. Texas and Virginia Tech. This is going to be a good game. Texas, they've never really been able to find their stride. They have so many transfers on that team, and they tried to meld it together, and it really just never did. All season long, they've been having a hard time with chemistry. Marcus Carr has not played well, the transfer from Minnesota, or at least he hasn't been as good as he was in Minnesota. He was obviously great at Minnesota, but I don't think he's been that good this season. I've seen a lot of games where he's struggled. But Texas overall, they've been kind of a disappointment. A lot of people expected more from them with all their great transfers, but those transfers never really melded well together. And Virginia Tech is playing its best basketball right now, winning the ACC tournament, beating Duke in the ACC championship, and also beating North Carolina even before that. And they smoked North Carolina. But the Hokies at 23-12, playing the Texas Longhorns in Milwaukee. This is a tough game. I think this will be an interesting one, but I have the Hokies. I'm not big on the Longhorns. I think this is one that Virginia Tech can end up winning. I think they continue their run that they started in the ACC tournament. I don't think they shoot like they did against Duke. I don't really think they have to either because Texas can get in those stretches where they can't make shots. Chris Beard not a head coach at Texas. So obviously Texas, so Texas does have a better head coach, I'd say maybe, but this is just not a team that has ever really found its a role all season long. So it's hard for me to choose a team that just has not ever looked as good as ever not really. Bleh. Wow, I cannot talk right now. It's kind of hard for me to pick a team that just has not looked its best all year long. So I'll be taking Virginia Tech for the upset. Purdue and Yale. Purdue is way too good for Yale. I know Yale has pulled off some upsets before. This is a really good Purdue team, though. This Purdue team could easily even make the Final Four and possibly even win the championship. I'm not even kidding. This is a Purdue team. They're not exactly the greatest defensive team, but Jaden Ivey is a wizard. That guy is really stinking good. And they have Zach Edey who can play. Travion Williams comes off the bench for Purdue. He's a bench guy. He comes off the bench. He's an NBA prospect, and he's a bench player for Purdue. Sasha Stefanovic. What is it? No. It's Hunter Jr. I forget his first name, but he can play as well. This Purdue team is absolutely loaded. They'll win this one against Yale. This is not going to be an upset. And then we head to the bottom half of this region, which has Murray State and San Francisco. Murray State, this might be their highest seed ever. I don't remember a time Murray State was higher than a 7. And this is probably also their best record at 30-2. And San Francisco, this is their first tournament appearance ever since 1998. So a lot of history here going for these two teams, and so these two teams have a lot going for themselves. Making some history probably. Murray State though, they're playing their best basketball right now. San Francisco, they're an okay team, but I think Murray State, they're just on a roll, and they're at a point where they won't lose. and they refuse to lose, and they beat Memphis during the regular season. This is a good Murray State team. San Francisco could very much end up winning and getting to the second round. I mean, pick either one of those two teams. It's more of a 50-50, I think, but Murray State, I think they continue their run. They get to the second round, but it's not going to matter. They're going to lose in the second round anyway, because here comes the Kentucky Wildcats as they just smack the crap out of 15 seed St. Peter's. This is not going to go well for St. Peter's. Kentucky is way too good. They're not exactly the greatest 3-point shooting team, but there's nobody on the planet there's nobody on St. Peter's team that's going to be able to match up with Oscar Tshiebwe. The guy is just a beast of a man. There's no way Kentucky will match up or there's no way anybody from St. Peter's is going to match up with Tshiebwe. So that is going to bring us to the other side of the bracket. Yeah, this is taking forever. But we have Arizona against Wright State or Bryant. This is going to be a first four game. We're just going to I'm going to be completely wrong on this because I know nothing about either of these teams. So Wright State and Bryant. I don't think Wright State was really like the top. I don't think Wright State was really the top team in their conference. Bryant, I think there was a I don't know who they were playing, but there was a big fight with the fans in that game. The fans were all fighting amongst themselves. Those other on the other sideline. This is a complete 50-50. I don't know. Pick a team. I'm picking Bryant. I'm sure a lot of you guys picking this game, if you do end up picking a game like that, picking those games, would probably do more of the same thing. But either way, even whoever ends up winning, it's not going to be close. I mean, come on now. Arizona. This is a really good Arizona team. They're a young team, but they've been incredible this season. They have made a complete 180 from last year. Tommy Lloyd has done an incredible job with the Arizona Wildcats. I mean, he has been utterly incredible for Arizona. It really is something else. Now we have Seton Hall and TCU. Pay attention to this one. This will be a good game too. Seton Hall is exactly like Michigan State. They are very scrappy. They play very hard, and they do have a very solid team. TCU has a solid team as well, which is why I think this is going to be also a very interesting 8-9 game. I like Seton Hall, though, for this one. If you guys really thought, I would not. I would say TCU could win this one, too. But I got Seton Hall for this one. You could take either one, though. I mean, either one of those teams could end up winning it. It's a hard choice. But I take Seton Hall to knock off TCU. Now we have Houston UAB. Houston, I've watched Houston a couple times. They're an okay team. Memphis has beaten them a couple times. They've kind of sputtered out at the end of the year here. They did beat Memphis for the American Championship. UAB winning the CUSA getting here. This is not a good man. I think I'm not a big fan of Houston. I'm taking UAB to get the upset. I've watched Houston's team. They're not that special. They have some decent players. Kyler Edwards transferred from Texas Tech. They have some okay guys. But this is not a great Houston team. They're not going to make a run. This isn't the same Houston team from last year, who ended up getting to the Final Four because nobody they played was any good. I mean, they played all double-digit seeds. I think, right? Because they played whoever was the 15th seed. Then they played Rutgers, who nearly beat them. Then they played Syracuse, who was absolutely horrible in that game. They could not shoot to save their life. And then they played Oregon State, who was a 12. And they nearly lost to Oregon State. So, I'm not big on Houston. I have UAB in the upset. Illinois, Chattanooga. One problem for Illinois in this game. Or I'm sorry, for Chattanooga, not Illinois. One problem for Chattanooga in this game. Kofi Coburn. There's not a lot of people that can match up with Kofi Coburn. Chattanooga doesn't have someone that can match up with Kofi Coburn. Give me Illinois. Illinois, I mean, they've had some health problems throughout the year, but this is an Illinois team that at full strength, they're way too good. This Illinois team is going to be dangerous in the tournament. They're once they're fully healthy, they're going to be hard to beat. So I have the Illini winning this one. It should be. It might be interesting. I don't think it'll be that interesting. Chattanooga. I mean, they don't have someone that can face off against Kofi Coburn. Andre Curbelo is an outstanding 3-point shooter. He's gonna give Chattanooga all kinds of problems. And then there's Andre Curbelo. Did I say? I meant Alfonso Plummer. He's a great 3-point shooter. Trent Frazier for Illinois is really good too. So just way too many pieces for Chattanooga to try and shut down. Yeah, I have no idea how we're still in, but Colorado State, the 6th seed, taking on the 17 and 14 Michigan Wolverines. I actually think we have the worst record out of all the teams that are in the tournament, and we're not even in the first four. That just tells you how crazy the selection committee is. But Colorado State, they were the best team that came out of the Mountain West. The 6th seed, they won, or no, they didn't win the regular season title or the tournament. They had an outstanding start to the season. They were like 10-0, 11-0, I think. They were one of the last few undefeated teams remaining. And then they lost a couple games within their conference twice, I believe, Boise. They beat Boise State twice. Who did they lose to? I think it was UNLV twice. So this is not Colorado State. I think this is a bit of a high seed for them. For Michigan, they really shouldn't be in the tournament. But Colorado State, I'm not big on what even are they? Oh, the Rams. I'm not big on the Rams. The Colorado State, I mean, and the same thing really goes for Colorado State. Who are you gonna throw up? Who are you gonna match up against Hunter Dickinson? They don't have anyone that can really play Hunter Dickinson, and their guard play, as far as I know, is not special either. So I mean, they played in the Mountain West Conference, which I mean, probably this year has been better than it has been any other year. But they lost to San Diego State in it was in January, but they lost to San Diego State by 30. By 30! And then beat them by 1. But by 30! They lost to them in January. Michigan beat them earlier in the season. So I am not big on Colorado State. So trust me, I don't want to sound like a homer. But I'm taking the Wolverines to beat Colorado State. They win their first round matchup and they move on to the second round. This is a popular upset anyway, so I don't sound like a total homer here. But I have Michigan beating Colorado State, moving on to the second round. Tennessee versus Longwood. Tennessee's playing their best basketball right now. And as much as I've never been a fan of Tennessee teams, this is probably their year. This might be the year that they finally end up doing something. They have some nice players. They're a very heavy guard team. They're not exactly big in the front, but this is a 3-point shooting team. They're very heavy in the front court. Really, Tennessee pretty much lives and dies by the three. They are a 3-point shooting team. Which killed them in the middle of the season when they struggled for a while. But really towards the end here, they've been really impressive. They play some good defense as well. This is not a game Longwood's certainly winning, so I have Tennessee moving on to the second round, beating Longwood to play the Michigan Wolverines, which is going to be in Indianapolis, Indiana, all these games, which is ironic because that's where Michigan was in the Big Ten tournament. Yeah, brings back some great memories, doesn't it? Um, so now we head to the last few games of this region, which has Ohio State taking on Loyola Chicago. Yeah, I don't want to sound like a homer. Really, I kind of want Ohio State to win and get to the Sweet 16. So if by whatever off chance Michigan ends up winning, we have a Michigan Ohio State Sweet 16 game because that would be totally awesome. Just so we can beat Ohio State again. I really don't want to lose that game, so I kind of don't want it to happen. But I've watched Ohio State. This is a team that is EJ Liddell dependent. They're Malachi Branham, their freshman guard. He has been playing well lately, and they're gonna have to count on him to really be able to win this game because it's gonna. Ohio State they've had a strugglesome end to their season. They will start the Friday games. Michigan will actually start the Thursday games. They'll be the first games on both days. So interesting. That's a little something there. Um, I am not big on Ohio State. I think this Ohio State team has struggled very much towards the end of the season, and Loyola Chicago, they just find ways to win the tournament every single year. And this is no different. I think Loyola Chicago ends up winning this one. They've been a little more adventurous outside the conference this season, and they beat San Francisco, who we already saw earlier. They were close with Michigan State. I think they beat Ohio State, and they get the upset here and move on to the second round. Villanova, and then I guess you could consider Michigan's little brother because Delaware's football jerseys just look like ours. Um, Villanova and Delaware. Um, this is Villanova team. I'm very high on this Villanova team. This is a very experienced Nova team, and one thing that shows up in the NCAA tournament is guys who have experience. Teams that are old, teams that have been in this situation before, and teams that just they know what to do. Where they've been in late game situations. They know, we need to do this here. I mean, experience is so important in late in the or late in the season, late in the postseason, in the playoffs, in the tournament. It's so important, and that's exactly what Villanova has. So that's why I have Villanova winning this one. They're a very experienced team. Colin Gillespie over there in somewhere in Pennsylvania, I think actually Villanova is. Oh, which is actually in Pittsburgh. How ironic. But Colin Gillespie over there at Villanova, great player. Then we have Kansas and another first four game being. This is actually kind of funny. Texas Southern and then Texas A&M Corpus Christi. This is gonna sound bad, but I didn't even know this school existed. I did not even know this was an actual school. And I don't know who's gonna win this game. I'm only just taking Texas Southern because I know they beat Florida, and that's actually a decent team. So that's why I'm choosing that. That's the only reason I'm choosing Texas Southern to win this one. Who knows? I mean, whoever even wins these 16 games likely will not be winning, so it's not like it makes a whole lot of a difference. So Kansas, Texas Southern. Guess who I'm taking? Yeah, Kansas. Woohoo. This is a good Kansas team, though. This team can make a run. This is more of an offensive team. Oshai Abaji, really good shooting the basketball. David McCormick is an underrated player. I like him over at Kansas. He can really play. Kansas got a good team. Jalen Wilson, also a really good player for Kansas. They got a lot of great players over there. And Kansas is definitely going to, I think, possibly make a run and maybe get somewhere. Who knows? San Diego State and Creighton. I like Kansas team, but San Diego State Creighton. Creighton had a nice run in the Big East tournament. They destroyed Providence. That came out of just nowhere. And then they ended up losing to Villanova in the Big East championship, which that championship game was so bad nobody could shoot in that game. But San Diego State, they're a really defensive team. They're a very tough team as well. This is a good San Diego State team. I like both of these teams. I'm going to take the Aztecs to win this one, but Creighton certainly could win it too. Um, but I have San Diego State moving on. They get to the second round. They go to play Kansas. Then we have probably what's the hottest team in the entire country right now, and that is the Iowa Hawkeyes. They are playing their best basketball right now. And really, so is even Richmond, who ended up winning the Atlantic 10 tournament and got the automatic bid, where they were the bid thieves this year. And the Richmond Spiders get to play the Iowa Hawkeyes, who won the Big Ten tournament. Yeah, I'm sorry, Richmond. You got what is probably the team that's playing their best basketball right now. The thing about Iowa, every single year for Iowa, they've always been a great offensive team, and they just had no defense to work with. And they were the same thing last year, and they had, what was it? When they had, why am I fumbling on his name? When they had Luka Garza. When they had Luka Garza last year, and they were the 2 seed, they just didn't have defense, so they couldn't stop anybody. The difference about Iowa this year is in this stretch of where they've played outstanding basketball, they've been playing defense. Yeah, they played Purdue tough, and Purdue is a very good offensive team, and Iowa played them tough. They gave Purdue problems on the offensive end, and that is huge for an Iowa team that is so good scoring a basketball with Keegan Murray. Chris Murray can score. Jordan Bohannon can score. The McCaffreys can score. They have so many scores on that team, and they're playing better defense, which is a huge problem for teams that are going to face the Iowa Hawkeyes. I have Iowa winning this one against Richmond. As I said, playing their best basketball right now. Teams are in serious trouble. I watch out for the Hawkeyes. They're going to be a sneaky good team in the tournament. Providence and South Dakota State. This is going to be a popular upset, and I'm actually going to be picking it too. Providence has been playing fantastic this season. They've been so good this year. The only reason I'm taking South Dakota State, Providence, I've seen 2 games of which, especially in their last game against Creighton, where they got throttled. I mean, Creighton's not an awesome team by any. They're not a bad team by any stretch. But it's like, if you're the Big East regular season champion and you're a really good team, you can't get blown out in the Big East tournament by like almost 30 points. I mean, that is not good. It's tough for me to take Providence in this one. I'm taking South Dakota State for the upset. That's probably gonna be my biggest upset. Or no, it's not. Um, yeah, I gave it away a little bit there. LSU and Iowa State. Big problem here for LSU. I already mentioned it earlier. They do not have Will Wade. Will Wade is no longer their head coach. He was fired as head coach. They'll have an interim guy. LSU, even with Will Wade, could get into the stretches where they couldn't make shots, where they struggled, they wouldn't hit anything. They're more and their defense is kind of up and down. Really, their entire team is up and down. Iowa State has been kind of the same thing, but this is gonna be a really fun one because both of these teams had incredible starts to their season. They were one of the last few teams, both of them, of which were undefeated, and both of them completely fell off a cliff in their conferences. So I'm really interested to see how this goes, but without a head coach, it's hard for me to choose LSU. I'm taking Iowa State to win this one. I have literally picked every single 11 now to beat the 6, which is kind of funny. We'll see if I was actually right about that, but that's why I have Iowa State winning in Milwaukee against LSU. They get the upset. Wisconsin and toothpaste, or Colgate. Same difference there. Wisconsin, I do not like Wisconsin's team. Not just because of what happened in February with Jawan Howard and all that. Wisconsin's team is Johnny Davis dependent. They depend on Johnny Davis. If Johnny Davis does not play well, then their team loses. And Wisconsin has not looked good at the end of the season. Their last two games have been losses against Nebraska and Michigan State. Michigan State's a better loss than Nebraska. But against Nebraska, Johnny Davis got hurt. He played against Michigan State and he was 3-19. That is not good. So I am very skeptical of Wisconsin. If Johnny Davis is not healthy, they are in trouble, and he's not healthy. I know this is in Wisconsin, which is going to make this even more shocking. I have toothpaste. Colgate beating Wisconsin. Colgate has already had one upset this year. They beat Syracuse earlier in the year. Yeah, it was way earlier in the year, and it was Syracuse. But Colgate has already pulled off an upset before. They gave Arkansas trouble last season. I think they do it. Wisconsin, if Johnny Davis does not make shots and he is not healthy, then Wisconsin is in serious trouble because that is their team. Brad Davison is not carrying them to a win. No, that will not be happening. They need Johnny Davis to win the game for them, and if he's not healthy enough, they could be having some problems. Now we head to the bottom of this, which has USC and Miami, Florida. Battle of the football schools. This is going to be a fun one. I like USC's team. Miami, Florida, I haven't seen much of. And really, they haven't been playing well that much this season. But USC's team, I love USC's team. They're a really good team. I think it should be a fun game, though. Just being the football schools and simply just being Miami, Florida is not a terrible team either. But I think USC still has a much better team than Miami, Florida. I think USC wins this one. Auburn and Jacksonville State, not taking much time to pick this one, okay? It's going to be Auburn. Auburn's winning this one. This is a really dangerous Auburn team. They win this one. They beat Jacksonville State. They head to the second round. All right. So we're going to head back to the other side of the bracket here. Let's go to the top of where we're going to have Gonzaga taking on the Memphis Tigers in the first round. In the second round. Call me crazy, but I'm not big on, Gonzaga's team. I think this team is not as good as it was last year. Gonzaga had Jalen Suggs last year, Corey Kispert, and they did have Drew Timme last year too. Gonzaga had a really good team last year. This year, they count on Chet Holmgren. And you guys may not know, but I absolutely hate Chet Holmgren. I am not a Holmgren fan. I think he'll be a complete bust in the NBA. I'm not a fan of that guy at all. Of course, he also played in the WCC where nobody can match up with him. I do not like Gonzaga's chances in this game. I think Jalen Duran, he can match. If anyone even can match up with Holmgren, if you've watched I watched Holmgren play against St. Mary's, which doesn't really have that big of a guy either, especially Holmgren's size. His legs, first of all, are as wide as my wrist. That's how big his legs are. They're absolutely tiny. He weighs like 180 pounds at 7'1". You know who else is 180 pounds? Me. I'm 180 pounds. So I'm like a foot shorter than Holmgren. And I weigh the exact same amount. That doesn't mean I'm fat. But Holmgren's tiny. He's a twig. He has no muscle on him whatsoever. Jalen Duran is a 6'10", 250-pound behemoth. He weighs almost 70 pounds more than Holmgren. He's going to abuse him all day long. It's not a good matchup for Gonzaga. And so this is going to sound crazy to literally everybody else. But I have Memphis in the upset. They shock the world. They take down Gonzaga. And they move on to Sweet 16. And like I said, to shock everyone, they knock off the Gonzaga Zags, take down the number 1 overall seed. So now we have UConn and Arkansas. Be ready for a fun game, because that's exactly what this is going to be. UConn and Arkansas is going to be an awesome game to watch. Arkansas, JD Notae can really play. UConn's got great big guys down low. It's going to be a war all day long. I'm going to take Arkansas, though, to win this one and head to the Sweet 16. They knock off the Huskies. It should be a really fun game. It can really go either way, but I'm going to take Arkansas to win this one in Buffalo in the second round. Moving on to the Sweet 16. Now we head to Rutgers and Texas Tech. Rutgers got the best of Alabama. They will not get the best of Texas Tech. I don't think they're going to be able to hit the shots to keep. I don't think they'll be able to hit enough shots. It's going to be more of a defensive game, but Texas Tech has a better offense than Rutgers. I think Texas Tech makes more shots than Rutgers and ends up winning this one. And it'll be more of a defensive game. Duke, Michigan State. Michigan State does play teams very tough. And the last time these two actually met, conveniently enough, Michigan State actually upset Duke. Duke was the number 1 overall seed. Michigan State was the 2. They met each other in the Elite Eight. That was the year that they had Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, and Cam Reddish, and Michigan State beat them. You know, that was the last time those two met. I think it was the last time those two met. I don't think they met in the State Farm Champions Classic since then. They might have, I don't know. But either way, this is not going to be a good game for Michigan State. They don't have someone that can match up with Paolo Banchero. Paolo Banchero is a really good player. Marcus Bingham, he ain't going to match up with him. Neither is, Hogarth's not a big player, but Bingham can't match up with him. Marble can't match up with him. There's just not someone on Michigan State that can match Duke's Paolo Banchero or Mark Williams. They're just going to have a hard time stopping Banchero. And, I think this is not going to be a good game for the Duke Blue Devils. I think they have for Michigan State. I think the Spartans have problems. Duke moves on to the Sweet 16, playing Texas Tech. Baylor, North Carolina. We move on to the next region. Baylor, North Carolina. I want to take the national champions, but I'm telling you, this North Carolina team is very good. I think this could definitely go either way. I like North Carolina's team a lot. Baylor has a solid team, but Baylor's hurting. Baylor has some injuries. And North Carolina, man, this is a really, really good Tar Heel squad. I'm taking the Tar Heels to upset another number 1 seed in the second round. The Tar Heels, they knock off national champions in the second round. Baylor is a really good team, but they just, like I said, they have a lot of injuries. It's going to be hard for this team to find success with their guys all being injured. And obviously they don't have Jonathan Chambu-Chachua. They're missing Jonathan Chambu-Chachua. This Baylor team, it's a really good team, but it's not the same team it was when they won the national championship. And North Carolina, when this team gets hot, they're hard to beat. They're a very good offensive team. Armando Bacot, he can really shoot the ball. Caleb Love is really good. Brady Manick is going to be a hard task for Baylor as well. This is a really underseeded Tar Heel squad. I think they knock off the Baylor Bears and move on to the Sweet 16, of which they'll play the winner of Indiana and UCLA. Indiana has a solid squad, but they're going to have a hard time stopping Jaime Jaquez and Johnny Juzang. They'll be able to deal with Miles Johnson, but it's going to be hard for them to stop the guards of UCLA. I have the Bruins moving on. They knock off Indiana in the second round. Should be a really fun game, though. I think the Hoosiers will make it interesting, but I still have UCLA moving on. Virginia Tech and Purdue. Virginia Tech got the upset on the over the Texas Longhorns, and so now we have the Hokies taking on the Purdue Boilermakers. This Jaden Ivey is the man, guys. Jaden Ivey is something else. Jaden Ivey is way too good. Um, he's an outstanding player. Virginia Tech doesn't really have a guy that will match up against Zach Edey. Travion Williams will just dominate Virginia Tech coming off the bench. Hunter Jr. can really play as well. I mean, it's such a good Purdue team. I have them moving on, beating Virginia Tech here. They move on to the Sweet 16. Kentucky, Murray State. I know Murray State won their first game, and yeah, they're 31-7, or not 31-7, 31-2. But this Kentucky team is way too good. Again, Oscar Tshiebwe, that is the man for Kentucky. Really, honestly, yes. If you can stop Oscar Tshiebwe, then you can theoretically end up knocking off Kentucky. There's also, of course, Kellen Grady, Ty Washington. But Kentucky's team is just not really a three-point shooting team, and Kellen Grady is the only three-point shooter they have, transferred from Davidson. So it definitely is a weaker Kentucky team, I'd say. But if you can force, the key to beating Kentucky would be to contain Tshiebwe, and if you can't contain Tshiebwe, then they will easily beat you. But Murray State, they don't have anyone that can match up with Tshiebwe, so I have Kentucky winning this one. They go on to the Sweet 16, and so now we move on to the other side of the bracket of where we have Arizona and Seton Hall. Arizona is a very good team, guys. This team is on a stinking roll. And this is Tommy Lloyd's first season. I do get it. I think Seton Hall is going to play Arizona very tough. They're going to give the Wildcats some problems. We've seen Arizona have some issues before. But Seton Hall, very scrappy team. I think this is much closer than people expect. But I think Arizona escapes this one and they move on to the Sweet 16. They knock off the Seton Hall Pirates, and they just sneak away with the win. And they get to the Sweet 16, playing the winner of UAB in Illinois. There's still no one that can match up with Kofi Cockburn. Give me the Illini in this one. They move on to the Sweet 16. They go on to play the one and only Arizona Wildcats, who beat them in Champaign. So that'll be interesting. But Illinois, they move on. They go to play the Wildcats in the Sweet 16. Go farther down, we have Michigan taking on Tennessee. The big question here is going to be, how do Michigan's guards play? Do Devontae Jones and Eli Brooks play well enough to the point of where they, make enough shots or they play good defense on Tennessee and contain them from the three-point line? That is the million-dollar question. And then what does Tennessee do with Hunter Dickinson? I think this is an entire complete wash. Tennessee is playing their best basketball. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Michigan, I think, will play Tennessee close, but the Michigan backcourt, their guard play is just not special, and I really think that Tennessee is going to take advantage of Michigan's guards, and they will knock off the Wolverines. They go on to the Sweet 16, and they win this one against the Wolverines. It should be close. I think the Volunteers and the Wolverines will have a close game, but I don't think Michigan is going to end up winning this one. I think they fall just short. Loyola Chicago and Villanova. I don't know why I'm really tempted to take not Villanova. I'm really tempted to take Loyola. But I'm going to take Villanova to win this one. This is a really good Villanova team. They're an old team. They can get into some cold streaks, but I think Villanova can win this one. They move on to the Sweet 16. They knock off Loyola Chicago, and they knock off the basically what seems to be the yearly Cinderella team pretty much every season. Kansas and San Diego State. I think once again the 8 seed. Uh, I think once again the team playing the 1 seed in the second round is going to play the one tough. We've already seen 2 1 seeds go down. Arizona just escaping Seton Hall. I think Kansas is going to do the same here. It'll be close with it'll be close to San Diego State, but I think Kansas just moves on. They get the better of the Aztecs and they move on to the Sweet 16, knocking off the San Diego State Aztecs. Moving on to the bottom of here, we have Iowa and South Dakota State. Iowa is on a stinking tear. This team is moving on to the Sweet 16. Even if Providence wins this one in the second round, I am 100% confident Iowa is going to be a Sweet 16 team this year. Obviously in this one, my bracket, they're playing South Dakota State. So I have Iowa moving to the Sweet 16. Iowa State and Colgate. Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one, of which Iowa State is going to win. I don't know anything about Colgate, but Iowa State, they have a decent team. If they're playing their best in that one, I don't think Colgate comes up with another upset. They're a one-time wonder. They beat Wisconsin, who's too Johnny Davis dependent, but I think Iowa State can get the better of them. Isaiah Brockington, transfer from Penn State, can really play, and they have some other solid players on Iowa State. I think they knock off Colgate to get to the Sweet 16. Auburn and USC. This is a hard choice. I like USC's team a lot. This team is very good. USC can really make plays, and they are tough to beat. Auburn has been kind of shaky towards the end of the season. I want to take Auburn. Jabari Smith can really make some plays. And they got KD Johnson. Walker Kessler is really good too. I want to take Auburn, but I'm gonna shock some people. I'm taking USC. Auburn's got a good team. You know, this is a good Auburn team. I think they definitely could beat USC. I think that would be honestly a more likely thing to happen. But you know, USC's team, they're I think USC is really underrated. This USC team, I looked at them earlier in the year and I thought they were overrated, but I watched them more and more and I just like them more and more. I love Isaiah Mobley is really good for them. They have some solid guards on their team. They can make shots, and Auburn, they have some they have some issues. Well, okay, you know what? I'm actually just gonna go back on that. I'm still taking Auburn. Auburn's just still okay. Yeah, just take away what I said. I'm taking Auburn. Okay, I'm not gonna be crazy. I changed my mind. I think USC definitely could pull off the upset. I like all their guys, but who knows? I mean, it's a 50-50, I think, but really all these games are 50-50s. So it's complete guesswork, but I will just go with the favored team there. I will take Auburn. Now we go to the top of the bracket in the Midwest, of which we have Arkansas taking on Memphis in the Sweet 16. Arkansas, JD Note, they're a very good defensive team. Memphis, pretty young, coming off a great win against Gonzaga. I don't think Memphis has enough to knock off Arkansas. I have the Razorbacks moving on to the Elite Eight. Arkansas moving on to the Elite Eight. They knock off Memphis. They win again. They win their third straight. Texas Tech and Duke. This will be an interesting one. I think the Duke Blue Devils, Paolo Banchero isn't necessarily going to be able to dominate because Texas Tech is a very good defensive team. And this is Coach K's last year, but Duke is really just Paolo Banchero, and then that's mostly it. And in the weak ACC, that has been able to get them away. And they've been able to get away with simply just having Paolo Banchero and nobody else. So I'm going to take Texas Tech. I think the Red Raiders, they upset the Blue Devils. They've been having a great season. Or whoops. Go back there. It's the wrong spot. Texas Tech has been having a great season. They're playing more the same as they were when they still had Chris Beard as the head coach. I think they knock off Duke and they get to the Elite Eight. They knock off the Blue Devils. They end Coach K's year in the Sweet 16. Then we go to the next region. We go to the East, which we have North Carolina taking on UCLA. North Carolina UCLA is going to be a really fun game. North Carolina has a really good offense. UCLA, same thing. It's going to be more of a shootout type game. But I think UCLA has a couple more weapons. North Carolina just isn't consistent enough. UCLA, very, very good team. I like UCLA to move on to the Elite Eight. They knock off North Carolina. We go to the bottom here. We have Purdue and Kentucky. Kentucky's team, and this is where I think Kentucky falls. I take Purdue to knock off the Wildcats. And here's why. Because Zach Edey can match up with Oscar Tshiebwe, and so can Travion Williams. When Oscar Tshiebwe can just dominate and simply play his best basketball and have no issues, yeah, he Kentucky wins. But when you have somebody who can match up with Tshiebwe and can give him a problem, then Kentucky has a problem. So I think this is where Kentucky's run ends. They lose to Purdue. Purdue moves on to the Elite Eight. They get to where they get to play UCLA. Arizona and Illinois, rematch of the earlier regular season game between these two. I'll put it there. Arizona has a really good team, and Illinois isn't necessarily at really full strength. At this point, they could be, and in that case, they'll make this game a war. I think Arizona-Illinois is going to be a ton of fun. It was the first time. It will be the second time. I think Arizona, though, has just enough to where they'll squeak by Illinois, and they'll move on to the Elite Eight. I think they get to the Elite Eight. They knock off Illinois and find their way into the Elite Eight. And over here we have Tennessee and Villanova. I really don't like any of these teams, but I don't like the matchups or the opposing teams either. But Tennessee, Villanova is a very good defensive, is a very experienced team. Tennessee, I've seen some games where they don't look good, and if they're not on their best, and same with Villanova, if they're not on their best. This is actually a rematch of a regular season game too, of which Villanova manhandled Tennessee. So it could be interesting. I have Villanova, though, winning this one against Tennessee. They move on to the Elite Eight. They go ahead to take on Arizona in the Elite Eight. Next up, we have our next region. That was the West region. We move on now to what will be the South region, and we start in Chicago, where we have where we have Kansas taking on Iowa. This Iowa team, I'm telling you, with them playing more defense now and actually developing a defensive part of their game, they're going to be one of the more tough outs in the conference, and they're playing their best basketball right now. Iowa is going to upset the Kansas Jayhawks. They move on to the Elite Eight. They take down another number one, leaving Arizona as the last number one standing. Then we go to Iowa State and Auburn. This is a match. This misses match for Auburn. I'm really not big on Iowa State, but I don't like LSU's chances of winning. And then, they're going to be Colgate. But Auburn, they win this one. They dominate Iowa State after just escaping against USC. They get to the Elite Eight to go and play the Iowa Hawkeyes. Whoa, here we go. And now we head into the two games on this side, of which we will have Texas Tech playing. Where the heck is it? Oh, it's farther up. Where we have Texas Tech playing Arkansas. This is actually a rematch of a tournament game last season where we had Texas Tech, the 6th seed, playing Arkansas, the 3 seed, and it came down to the last possession. I think that could happen once again in this game. You know, Texas Tech is a very good defensive team. Arkansas, they have some good offensive players. Arkansas, their team is all right. I think Texas Tech, though, I think they win this one and they get to the Elite Eight. Or I'm sorry, they get to the Final Four. And they'll get to the Final Four. They will represent their region of the, I believe it's the Midwest over there. The Midwest in the Final Four. And next we have what was, I believe, the East. Yep, the East of UCLA and Purdue. UCLA, they were the Cinderella story last season. Went from first four to Final Four. I don't think that'll be the case this year. I think UCLA falls just short of it. And the Purdue Boilermakers with Jaden Ivey and everybody else, they continue to just play their game, playing their fantastic basketball. They get to the Final Four, of which they will take on the Texas Tech Raiders in New Orleans. So that'll be I have Purdue winning the East. Over on the other side, we have where is this? Farther up, Rob. Oops, nope, that's not what I. Okay, but we have Arizona taking on Villanova. This Villanova team is very experienced, which will really help them in this game, which will make this game, I think, very competitive. But Arizona's team is very good offensively. They can rebound the ball. They can do just about everything. And so I think it's going to be hard for Villanova to knock off Arizona. I think the Arizona Wildcats get to the Final Four. The only one seed who will get to the Final Four, Arizona, gets to the Final Four game. They head to New Orleans. And then we have the last Elite Eight game here of Auburn and Iowa. Auburn is going to make this very tough for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Auburn has a lot of really good players. Iowa's run has gotten them to this point. The Iowa Hawkeyes continue to play this outstanding offensively. Auburn has played some really good games, though, too. Walker Kessler is going to be, I think, more of a mismatch for the Iowa Hawkeyes. He's going to be a problem for Iowa, and it's going to be interesting. You know, I think this is a 50-50 the way Iowa is playing, and with their good defense, Auburn can really go into stretches where they just struggle to hit the basketball, but I think Auburn, they have the talent to win this one, and I think that's exactly what they do. They win this one. They head to New Orleans, and they head to the Final Four. They head to New Orleans, taking on Arizona. So we'll start with the teams on the left side here: Texas Tech and Purdue. Texas Tech has a good defense, which is going to be their best counter really for Purdue. Jaden Ivey, though, that guy is just an absolute monster. You know, that guy can make play after play after play after play. And he continues to just shock everyone with the kind of stuff he does. And he's hitting threes. He's starting to hit some threes now, which makes him even more difficult to guard. Guy is just an outstanding player. Travion Williams as well. There's so many options for Purdue. I don't think Texas Tech can cover every single one of them. I think Purdue makes it to the championship game. They knock off Texas Tech in the Final Four, and they make it to Monday. Over on the other side, we have Arizona and Auburn. These two are both incredible teams. Arizona is a very, very young squad. They're tough to beat. And Auburn's got a lot of really good players. Jabari Smith, of course, he's also a young guy. You got Walker Kessler. You got KD Johnson, the transfer from Georgia. The key is going to be the guard play for Auburn. That's going to be the key to them winning this game. I think the guard play gets it done. I think they knock off the Wildcats. in the Final Four, take down the last number 1 seed, and they get to the national championship game, of which they will play the Purdue Boilermakers. Here we go, national championship, Purdue Auburn. Gonna be some fireworks, man. There's gonna be a lot of offense in this game. I think the defenses are gonna go pretty much just out the window. Purdue can come up with some defense. They can make plays in the defensive end. Auburn can as well. Walker Kessler, one of the best shot blockers in the league. It would be a matchup between him and Zach Edey. Got Travion Williams coming off the bench for Purdue. Going to be a ton of fun. The Big Ten is right there for a national championship. Can they do it? No, I have Auburn. I think the Auburn Tigers, they have what it takes. They get to the national championship. They end up winning it all. My national champion, the Auburn Tigers. I think KD Johnson can really make plays. Jabari Smith is going to be a tough matchup. You have to bring in Travion Williams almost immediately to try and match up with him. It's going to be tough for Purdue. I have Auburn going all the way. They win the national championship. All right, that's it, guys. We almost took an hour and a half to make that video. Yikes, that was not as long as I thought it was going to be. Well, that's it for that, guys. Time to get back to enjoying my birthday a little bit. So that's all for me. If you guys want to join my join the podcast group, I will have it linked down in the description down below. You guys can join it. Make your own picks. That's going to be serious brackets. I do have a fun where I just pick Michigan to win it all for whatever reason. But you guys can join that bracket group. As I said, I will be having an NFL video coming out soon if I can ever get all the stuff. And I might just even have to redo the NFC, AFC North because of just how many signings there are. Just completely throw it out the window because I can't ever get the video in. But that's all for me. This is my these are my predictions for the NCAA tournament. It's gonna be madness. I wasn't even trying that. But that's all for me. Until next time, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's gonna be a really, really fun tournament. I am gonna be really excited. Starting tomorrow. It's gonna be starting tomorrow. I hope you guys enjoy it. Until next time, adios, everybody.